Hello and a very warm welcome to Malhotra IAS. Today is Saturday and we will be taking up the current affairs for the miscellaneous component topics that I have left behind in this week. So we at Malhotra IAS are coming up with a test series. As you all know that there is one test which have been successful and we have got tremendous response. This is a UPSC simulated test series in which it is completely free of cost, wherein the test will be simulated as UPSC conducts. From morning 9:30 to 11:30 you will have the GS exam, and in the afternoon 2:30 to 4:30 you will have the CSAT examination. So this is an all India mock test where you are allowed to write your test online as well as offline. See guys, it is not sufficient for you to study alone. Along with study, it is also important for you to self-assess. If you don't assess yourself, you doesn't know where you stand. So I would request you to join us and write this test. Even if you are getting any number of marks, be whatever the marks it is at least you get to evaluate yourself and you get to know at what stage you are in this preparation, right? So the dates are given here. Tomorrow, that is Sunday, 24th of April 22, that is 2022, and the next Sunday also there is a other test which is going to be conducted. So this is an all India test. Please make the best utilization of this test and evaluate yourself, right? Okay, coming back to our current affairs topic, today I am going to take up the current affairs with respect to the miscellaneous component, right? And the topics for today are India and traditional knowledge in medicines, as well as the second topic is that global traditional there is a center that has been opened in Jamnagar, Gujarat, which says that there is a global traditional medicine center that has been opened, and the third component is your parboiled rice, and the fourth one is your wheat issue that is going on currently. Now let me give you brief understanding of these topics before we get into this. See, firstly, India and traditional knowledge in medicine, as there is a center that has been opened, Global Traditional Medicine Center, where the chief of the WHO has come to India along with the Prime Minister of India. They together opened this center, and this center is going to be a nodal agency across the world, and that too for traditional medicine. Now the second article that talks about is the parboiled rice. This parboiled rice is in news. You can call it as parboiled rice, as parboiled rice also. This rice is in news because of the procurement policies that are being in consideration. Especially the state of Telangana took to protest, and the states like Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they are also on the mongering activity with respect to the rice procurement. And the third issue is your wheat issue. India has enough amount of wheat and India is trying to export its wheat. Now there is a war that is going on, that is Russia and Ukraine war. Russia and Ukraine war ke karan across the globe there is wheat shortage, because wheat is completely grown. Around Europe is completely dependent upon the Russia and Ukraine for its wheat, and wheat being a temperate crop, it is very important crop for the temperate regions. So let us not waste our time and quickly dwell into these topics in detail, and let's begin. My name is Madhusudan Reddy. Let's start with today's session. So first article is WHO and traditional medicine. As I told you, there is a center that has been opened, and this is the center that you can see, and the WHO chief says that it is important for us to take up the traditional medicines and traditional methodologies in dealing with the wellness of the human being in terms of the universal health coverage aspects. So there are certain topics which we have to understand. In this particularly, we will be dealing with these topics here. Firstly, let us look into where exactly is this particular topic falls into your syllabus. From the preliminary examination point of view, there is a separate topic called economic and social development. Under this can be asked, this topic can be asked. And secondly, in the mains examination, issues related to development and management, sectors relating to health, or you can education and human resource. This is where the potential questions can be seen. And with respect to this article, we will be dealing in detail with respect to the definition of a traditional medicine. Traditional medicine hota hi kya hai, right? And nextly, we will also learn about the Global Center for Traditional Medicine. This new body, what is it going to do? What are the roles and responsibilities of this body once after the establishment, right? And thirdly, why has the World Health Organization felt that there is a need for the traditional medicine health centers as well as traditional medicine centers to be established in India, that too in Gujarat and Jamnagar. Now, is there any similar kind of methodologies or similar kind of programs which India has run in the past? That also we will see. And finally, we will also look why Jamnagar is chosen as the center for traditional medicine. So, before we go any further, I wanted to give you the definition of a traditional medicine, but I wanted to ask you one thing. Have you ever used a traditional medicine in your life? बचपन में हमें बुखार हो तो दादी माँ की छोटी छोटी नुस्खे हमें ऊपर काम करते थे, है ना? Or else whenever you're hurt or you might be bleeding, back in the villages they'll put some haldi on your wound, and they will also put some chai patti on your wound. So these kind of small techniques which are also considered to be your traditional medicines. But the biggest problem with this traditional medicine is that we haven't streamlined these medicinal studies yet. The center that has been opened in Gujarat with the help of the World Health Organization along with the Indian government, it is that now it is, at least this is a beginning wherein we are going to streamline these kind of traditional medicines, right? Now let us look into the definition aspects of the traditional medicine. What exactly is a traditional medicine? How exactly it is defined? See, the WHO, which is World Health Organization, defines traditional medicine as something where one should have skills bhi hona chahiye, knowledge bhi hona chahiye, साथ साथ this should have been practiced since time, or at least 100 years of period, or since the generations that particular methodology need to be practiced. And these methods should be used in such a way to the welfare of the human being, as well as the techniques should be used for the wellness in terms of health, or else it can also be used for diagnosing, or else it should also be used in treating the mental wellness. If someone who is under the depression, maybe if these kind of traditional medicines can help them to come out of this particular phases or mental illness, that is also called as traditional medicine. So in till date, आज के दिन में 40% of the total pharmaceuticals components are all derived from the traditional medicines itself. Now traditional medicines are also seen in India. India is the cradle of traditional medicine. You go to the ancient India, there are books written on the traditional medicine which we still follow. There is a ministry for traditional medicines which we do not know, directly or indirectly we call it in the form of Ministry of Ayush. Right? Before we go any further, I have seen some comments. Comments is that neem leaves, tulsi leaf, Ayush, and there are also, okay, there is a comment that is from Chandigarh which says that, sir, when there is fever, ant biting is one of the phenomena in which by sweating the diseases is worked up. Okay, I understood. Generally, in the deep down in the jungles, when someone has high fever, what they do is, there is a black ant. Black and red ants which you see on the mango trees, those ants were brought in, and those ants are led to bite the person so that the person will sweat out, and along with that he or she will loses the temperature. So that is one kind of a traditional medicine. But is it a traditional practice or traditional medicine nahi hai? Medicine is something you take inside, right? It is a traditional practice. Like these, there are many practices which India is aware of. Not just India, across the world also there are many traditional practices. So first let us look into the ancient history of the traditional medicine in India, where exactly we do get evidences with respect to the traditional medicines. If you go back, the Rig Veda itself has mentioned there are therapeutic use of 67 plants. The Rig Veda alone lists about 67 plants which are therapeutic in nature. By using these plants, you can actually get into dealing the diseases of those times. Now next, it is Atharva Veda which has enlisted 290 plants of medicinal utilities. Next, it is the Sushruta. During the time, in the ancient times, Sushruta who have written the Sushruta Samhita book, this also mentions about the 395 plants which are used for the medicinal purposes. And more evidences we can also see in the surgery books that have been written. There are also books on medicines. If you look into the Charaka Samhita, it describes somewhere around 341 plants, right? Charaka Samhita also describes, apart from that, Dhanavantri Nigunta, this is one of the text. It also enlisted somewhere around medicinal plants of somewhere 400 medicinal plants, right? Go back, you also look into the Yajurveda, it also enlists somewhere around 81 plants. It means that India, the traditional medicine to India is nothing new. We are aware of this medicine since the ancient times, right? Now, the present form of traditional medicines in India are mainly used in the form of Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Sova Rigpa and other homeopathic activities as well, right? Now, let us go back into the definition again and look into a brief. I wanted to give you this definition in a detailed way so that this definition alone can be asked in your examinations, right? Firstly, please try to note it down. I'll come back to the ancient part, but the definition aspects, if you have to understand, there should be three components. In terms of traditional medicine, it looks into three components. The first component is your skill, practice and the knowledge, right? Firstly, one should have knowledge plus skill plus practice, right? One should have knowledge and skill and practice with respect to that traditional practice. It should be indigenous to the cultures, right? It should be indigenous, and this practice should be for over a period of time. How long? Maybe for one generation, two generation, three generations, or since ancient times. So this practice should be also from various generations. Time factor is also taken into consideration. Now, if these things fit into any particular type of medicine, that is called as traditional medicine, right? Now, along with this, there should be a maintenance of health. Maintenance of health. Health का भी maintain करना चाहिए, and this particular practice can be used for diagnosis also, right? Diagnosis के लिए भी use हो सकता है, mental wellness के लिए भी. Mental wellness in the sense, for example, a person who is undergoing various mental stress or physical stress, if that person goes into the practice of yoga or takes into considerations of Ayurveda, if the person gets the universal health cover with respect to this, then this is also considered to be as traditional medicine, right? I hope you got the definition of the traditional medicine. If you have any doubts, you can also ask. Now, there is a question about the therapeutic ka meaning kya hai. Therapeutic is nothing but it helps in dealing with your some kind of diseases within your body, or it can help you to prevent also, right? I hope you are now aware about the definition. Quickly read this definition so that at least it will sit in your brain. The definition here says that the traditional medicine of WHO defines it as a sum total of knowledge. It is a sum total of knowledge, skills and practices which are based on the theories that are your beliefs or your experiences and that are indigenous to individual, right? It is indigenous to an individual or to a culture, and this set of practice is being utilized to maintenance of an individual health or a community's health. Along with that, the prevention, diagnosis or improvement of one's health. This is called the traditional medicine or traditional medicinal practices, right? As we have already dealt with the ancient historical point of view, right? Now, let us quickly get into the current form of traditional medicinal practices in India. In India, the current form of traditional medicinal practices are undertaken by Ministry of Ayush, right? Ministry of Ayush takes care of the traditional medicine. So, look at the magnanimity. If we have to have a ministry for this particular component, it means India gives so much of its importance, right? Now, let's get back into the history of this. The Ayurveda origin was somewhere around 900 to 800 BC, right? 900 to 800 BC before. Next to Ayurveda, chronologically, it is Siddha, which is being into practice. Ayurveda is generally practiced across India, most parts of the India, but when it comes to Siddha, the practice of Siddha is majorly confined to Karnataka and Tamil Nadu as well as Kerala, right? Mostly confined to Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Next is Unani. In the chronological order I am going in, it is 460 to 377 BC. Before Unani, it is actually the Siddha practice which came into existence. Later, yoga and naturopathy, which you all know, yoga was there. It was given by the philosopher, the Patanjali has written this yoga. Yoga, you name it, you name a country across the world, India is putting its efforts to retain the practices of yoga and expand its practices. The latest addition to the traditional medicinal practices is your homeopathy, right? If you see homeopathy, it is practiced in major parts of India. Only Siddha is confined to Karnataka and Tamil Nadu as well as Kerala. Apart from this, there is some other component, that is Sova Rikpa. आपने सुना होगा Sova. Okay, if you know about this particular traditional medicinal practices, please let me know which part of India it is practiced. Sova Rikpa. See, Sova Rikpa is practiced in northeastern parts of India, especially this is the traditional medicinal practice in Ladakh as well as in the Sikkim areas, in the northeastern areas, and mostly in Tibetan areas as well. Now there are additional features also such as acupressure. आपने सुना होगा, maybe these days you also get that acupressure chappal, वो भी एक therapeutic practice है, right? Let us quickly get into further nuances of this particular traditional medicine. Now, during the speech of the World Health Organization General Secretary, it has been said that there are some traditional practices which one failed to understand, as well as there are challenges to individual traditional medicines. So we should concentrate on those challenges and convert those challenges into an assets. Before that, there are some examples which I wanted to give you so that it becomes very easy to remember for you as well. Firstly, if you ever get cold or cough or some kind of any minor problems, there is some tablet which is very much recommended, that is your aspirin, which you get to see here. Aspirin as a tablet or aspirin as a component is actually is derived from the bark of a willow tree. This is the bark of a willow tree. From this tree, this particular medicine is derived, and next to it, in the treatment of the child related cancers, there is a plant called Raspi periwinkle plant, which you see here. This is the plant where this is used for the medicinal practices, right? The cancer treatment is used. For the cancer treatment, these plants are used. And next to this, if you know about the contraceptive pills are actually derived from the roots of the wild yam plant, right? It is the wild yam plant from which these roots, the contraceptive pills are derived. So, as I told you, 40% of the total pharmaceutical units till date, if you get into the pharmaceutical unit, 40% of the total tablets or medicines, they are derived from the traditional medicinal practices only, right? Which maybe, if you see here, from this roots the contraceptive pills have been derived. It is just the formulations that have been used. Now, from this plant, cancer related treatments are being done. From this bark of a tree, you get to see the aspirin that is derived. Now, it is important for us to streamline these plants, go into details, analyze these plants, as well as understand what are the compositions these plants have. In India, there are many traditional medicinal practices. If you go to Africa, there are also traditional medicinal practices. Now, you go to any forest area, every local area will have those local traditional practices. So, the major aim of the Global Traditional Medicinal Practices Center is to streamline all the data that is present in the world, for which India has been chosen as a center, because in Jamnagar there is a research institute which has been working on the Ayurveda So that institute has been taken as a nodal agency, and it has been given the authority to tie up with the Ministry of Ayush, as well as Ayush will now give certain guidelines along with the Global Traditional Medicinal Center, which is now present in the Jamnagar. Before that, there are some challenges to the traditional medicines, as well as there are also some progresses which we can work upon this particular traditional medicine. We will be looking one by one here. Now there is a comment I see here. Neha Saini says, sir, I have raspberry plants in my house. Yes, Neha, this raspberry plant is also one of the traditional medicinal plant which has its utility in terms of your cancer treatment, right? Come back. Let us look into the traditional medicinal practices challenge. The first challenge is that, as I have already told you, necessity for unified universal terminology. See, most of the plants that are present elsewhere in the elsewhere, they have their local names. None of them know the actual name. For example, if you go to Africa, that particular plant might have a different name, but the same plant may be of a different origin or a different species, different diversity plant that is present in Indonesia, that might have different medicinal properties. But if their genesis is same, if that is if that is rooted, or if it is given a proper terminology, then this challenge can be addressed. So the present challenge is that we have to impart some kind of artificial intelligence as well as bring in technology. We have to streamline, and then so that these courses are now utilized into universities. When these courses are used in the universities, उनके लिए courses बनाना पड़ेगा. Courses बनाने के बाद there should be traditional practices, laboratories that need to be developed. So this is just a stepping stone which the government of India along with the World Health Organization has started for, right? Now, the second challenge which it is facing is necessity of medical ontology. Medical ontology is nothing but, see, ontology is nothing but, for example, this is a traditional medicine. Traditional medicine में काफी सारे चीजें हैं. So if one has to break down and into pieces, bits and pieces, and understand the streamlining, so ontology comes into picture. That means what you have to do is, there is a big component. In this big component, you have to streamline this component. That is called ontology. The next challenge is the data quality requirement. We don't have enough data with respect to the traditional medicines. Whenever there is data, with that data you can start analysis, and after analysis is done, you can come to an interpretation stating that, okay, this particular plant is now can be used in the cancer treatment, or this particular plant can be used in the other treatments, maybe some of the orthopedic treatments that can be streamlined. Now, lack of treatment protocols also. Till date, the traditional medicines are only practiced in the local areas. If they have to be brought onto the global level, the major problem here it is the protocols need to be given. See, in the local, if you go and look into a YouTube channel, Tribe Traditional Medicines, you get hundreds of videos that can be popped up. On the social media also, someone might be telling aloe vera is good for this, you use this much and that much. But is there anyone who could regulate this? There is a big problem, right? If you take anything in excess, that is a problem. Maybe just understand, if people were not aware of this particular plant and they might have been taking this particular plant over a period of time. So without their knowledge, this particular plant might have actually played a bigger role in prevention of their pregnancy, right? That is traditional know-how and lack of knowledge. So these days, in the social media channels, you get to see so much of information, and this information is not curtailed or it is not regulated. It is not about the social media, it is about the information with respect to the traditional medicines. But the same is not if you look into the general allopathic medicines, no one will guide you, this is the amount of tablet which you have to take. It is because the Medical Council of India is sitting on, if someone does that, they would be punished. If someone has to do it, he or she should be a doctor who need to be graduated from a university or a college, and then they can prescribe medicines. But traditional medicine practices, agar dekha gaya, anyone and everyone can recommend you, everyone can actually give medicines to you. So this is the biggest problem, for which there should be certain protocols which need to be built upon, and global common consensus need to be brought upon. So that is the challenges the traditional medicines are currently facing, right? Nextly, if you look into the progress, what are the areas in which this traditional medicine can progress? Firstly, it is a universal standardization, means as I told you, give a common terminology, common names, and so that the books can be read in a proper way, and across the world the resources need to be conserved and resources can also be diversified, right? Secondly, development of the clinical data warehouse. For every traditional methodology, the clinical data should be there. With scientific research, you should go in scientific research in the sense, for example, recently there has been a study that has been done stating that while you practicing yoga, when MRI scanning has been done, that particular person wellness of the brain stabilization with respect to relaxation is at a greater level than the person who is not practicing yoga. So if you tend to give this scientific data to the public, there will be more trust that will be developed in the traditional medicines. We can also rely upon that data and go in at a global level, right? Nextly, that is with respect to data mining tools and application of IT and traditional medicines. You can bring in the applications of internet as well as information technology, and lastly development of traditional medicine database भी हमारे पास होना चाहिए. अगर आप हमारे पास कोई database नहीं है, then it is very difficult for us to use or create further data or data identification, data processing करने में दिक्कत होता है, right? Okay, let us quickly go and see what India is doing. Whatever we have discussed here is about the traditional medicine, but we should also learn that how India as a country has evolved from the traditional medicines to the Ministry of Ayush. There is a program called National Health Mission as well as National Health and Ayush Mission. This mission is now a successful entity, but there are potential areas in India also where this traditional medicine can be streamlined or kept into the proper channel. Firstly, what can be done is research and development and quality control. Medicinal plants need to be diversified, right? They need to be diversified. Firstly, they need to be conserved. Maybe some plants in Andaman Nicobar has some medicinal properties. So if everyone start to get to know about these plants, they might simply take off these plants. So there should be a body to regulate these plants, right? And there should be a body who also takes care of these plants, at the same time diversify these plants in various parts of the world, right? That is when the diversification of the plants takes place, and at the same time these plants can now be utilized for the greater level, maybe for an industrial level with respect to traditional medicine, right? Along with that, when these medicines are being obtained, now give these medicines in the government programs like public health care centers में, जो गांव में public health care centers, along with the allopathic doctors, now you also employ doctors from Ayurveda, Unani and as well as Siddha. Various traditional medicine doctors also need to be placed, right? Now when these doctors are available, you should make available the medicines also, right? After that, there are programs of Government of India like National Reproductive and Child Health Program, right, as well as inclusion of traditional medicines in the Asha kits and Anganwadi workers, where Poshan Abhiyan, these are the programs that are run by the Government of India. So when these programs are being run, if you can integrate the traditional medicine into this streamline, it is easy for India to venture into the traditional medicines and be the leader of the global scale, right? And lastly, promotion, regulation and regional use of traditional medicine. This is something as a universal point, wherever you want you can write it. And lastly, National Health and Ayush Mission, which is already there in place. This particular mission need to be streamlined in this particular manner, right? Okay, now let's get back and see the overall picture of the traditional medicine. If you look into the overall picture of the traditional medicine, what will the GC, the Global Center for Traditional Medicine Center, that is in the news article here itself we have seen. So the building here which you see, it is in Gujarat, Jamnagar. Now what are the roles and responsibilities of this building or this particular center? See, firstly policy frame करना, policy frame करने के बाद उसको laws बनाना, and at the same time we need to help the WHO in its program called Traditional Medicine Practices. And WHO said that out of 194 countries members, 170 members have asked for a program or a plan wherein the countries can have a common rules and regulations to practice the traditional medicines, right? So that across the globe, the traditional medicine can be a new streamline of health and wellness. Along with this, the WHO has also said that 80% of the total global world is now using traditional medicine. If you have ever been to a hospital and you have been using the traditional medicines, or sorry, the allopathic medicines, it means you're only that 20% part, right? Only you belong to that 20% population, and rest of the 80% of the world at one or the other point of time have used traditional medicines in their lifetime, right? This is what with respect to the traditional medicinal practices. Apart from this, what you have to know is one particular body, that is India and WHO. India and WHO कैसे इससे पहले भी एक ऐसी प्रोग्राम चालू किया था in the name of the global traditional practices, and that is when on the June 5th of every year the yoga day is being practiced in various parts of the world. That is also your yoga day, sorry, it is June 21st, yoga day is also being practiced. So likewise India also went into promotions for giving promotions to Ayush mein jitne bhi programs hai, along with Sova Rigpa in various parts of the world. So India is actually considered to be the global master for the traditional medicines. That is the reason why Jamnagar is chosen as a area or a place for us to grow as a center, and WHO has come up and opened its center. Now India will fund with 250 million rupees for its infrastructure establishment. After that WHO funding ke saath, Ministry of Ayush funding ke saath, along with on a global scale, will now be helping the WHO in framing of policies, right? I hope you are clear with whatever I have taught you. This is what you have to know with respect to the traditional medicines. Beyond this, with respect to prelims, the questions can be on the definition of the traditional medicine, maybe the examples that I have given you, the plants that are that you can see here in the previous slide, as well as the way forward, and at the same time integration of the traditional medicine into your allopathic medicines, sorry, allopathic streamlines, right? Now please repeat why Jamnagar is chosen as a center, because see Jamnagar में एक ऐसी center है which is named as ITRA. ITRA एक ऐसी body है Jamnagar में, Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, this is called ITRA. This is Institute of Training and Research of what? Of Ayurveda. There is a body that has been established by Government of India erstwhile. It's been many years this body is there, and they have been doing intense research in Ayurveda already. So this body is chosen as a helping hand to the Global Traditional Medicine Center. So it will give his helping hand or her helping hand to the WHO's GTMC or the Global Traditional Medicinal Center, right? That is why Jamnagar is chosen as a center. Clear? Now let's quickly move to our second article. Second article is the parboiled rice, that is parboiled rice. So there are a couple of articles that have been in the newspaper in the last 1 week. That is, now okay, there is a question, where is Jamnagar? Jamnagar is in Gujarat, Modi ji ka state में है, right? Okay, let's get back. Demand for parboiled rice low, can't waste money, says center. The center is saying that the demand for the parboiled rice is low and we cannot waste money in buying the parboiled rice that have been produced by the states. This is the first argument that the center is giving. On the other hand, there is a state government, that is Telangana, which says that Telangana CM holds dharna in Delhi, sets 24 hours deadline for center on paddy procurement. Now paddy procurement के लिए एक chief minister has come to the state central and dharna चल रहा है. This is a political statement. We need not worry about that, but our interest of topic for the examination is parboiled rice. In the parboiled rice, that is parboiled rice, it says that we need to know what is parboiled rice. At the same time, उसका utility क्या है? What is the utility of this rice? Along with that, what is the difference between paddy and rice? And the FCI procurements, how this FCI procurement is affecting, is it a discriminatory principle which is being played, which is complained by the states in various states? That we will look into, right? Now look into this news article which says that what is parboiled rice and why center wants to stop purchasing it. Okay, so let us quickly get into some facts here. Firstly, I wanted to show you some facts before we delve into this topic. Here, there are states such as Jharkhand, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. These are the states where consumption of the parboiled rice you get to see. So they were once called to be deficit producers with respect to parboiled rice, but in the recent last 1 or 2 years what happened is that these states who also consume more parboiled rice are also producing more parboiled rice, because of which other states like Telangana and some parts of the Chhattisgarh who used to grow very large quantities of parboiled rice, their procurement is not being bought by FCI, right? This is one of the reason for which the central government is saying that I am not going to take or buy your procured parboiled rice here from the states of Telangana and Chhattisgarh. Apart from that, okay, let us quickly look into these facts and later we will get into. So the production of parboiled rice has increased in the states in the last few years, especially in the Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu as well as Kerala. The second fact here, it is Telangana does not consume parboiled rice extensively. It is actually the producer, right? Telangana produce the parboiled rice in very large quantities. How large? They are the largest producers in the country, right? These are some of the facts which you need to know. Apart from this, in the global scale, if you see, India sometimes do export the parboiled rice to the states like Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand as well as the Taiwan. These are the countries where the parboiled rice is extensively consumed. Their production units are not sufficient, so they sometimes do import from other countries. Now the fact number 3 is that Telangana state government has asked its to procure the central government, to ask the central government to procure its parboiled rice which is greater than 90% of the overall 90% का parboiled rice इनकी जो है वो procure करने के लिए बोला था. But center said I am not going to procure rice because we already have enough stock with us, for which this rice in the current scenario do not have enough demand. Can the center say this to a state? The answer you will get to know in certain time period. See, firstly, in order to understand this complete issue, you need to understand the certain bodies as well as the Food Security Act. Back in 2013, there is an act that has been set up that is called your Food Security Act. In the Food Security Act, the Food Security Act mainly focuses upon 3 components. The Food Security Act of 2013 concentrates on 3 principles. The first one is accessibility of food. Second one is availability of food, right? And the third one is absorption of the food, right? Absorption of the food. These are the 3 components under which the Food Security Act works in, right? Accessibility, availability and absorption. The food should be accessible, the food should be available to everybody, and the food should be in an absorbable position. This is what the Food Security Act says. Under the Food Security Act, there are some statutory bodies that have been established. Along with that, there are some bodies which came up and they have given rules and responsibilities, right? One such body is the Food Corporation of India. This Food Corporation of India has treaties with every state. It has treaties with every state to procure the amount of rice, wheat and coarse grains that have been produced by the states, right? So every state that produces, and the Food Security Act also says that how much amount of rice you produce, how much amount of wheat you produce, irrespective of your production, I am going to buy your rice and wheat. Under what price? Through the price of MSP, right? That is minimum support price. Now who decides this minimum support price? It is the government of India under the CACP. This is a body which describes or which decides how much should be the minimum support price. it takes into certain considerations of formulas. That is, we need not enter into this particular domain, but I am just giving you that is A2 plus FL is the formula which is being followed. Now, before we go any further, I wanted to give you the definition of the parboiled rice or parboiled rice. ये parboiled rice होता ही क्या है? देखो, ये parboiled rice ये चीज है, whenever the rice is procured or produced, the rice you generally grow it in the form of paddy. Paddy ka husk, when you take it, then it is called rice, right? So the paddy is taken and it is actually partially boiled. Parboiled in literal terms means partial boiled. You boil it partially and then later you subject it to steam. The same rice that is boiled now subjected to steam. After some time you take it and you dry it. After drying, the husk of the, or the hull you call, or the husk you call, you take off that hull and husk. Finally it is being subjected to milling. The final product or the rice that is produced is called parboiled rice. Parboiled in literal terms means partially boiled rice, right? It is partially boiled rice which is subjected to various processes, like it is soaked in the hot water, later it is subjected to steam and then dried, later finally it is milled upon, right? This rice has certain advantages and disadvantages. Firstly, the rice that is produced will have certain nutritional values and it is very easy to store, because the raw rice which you produce can have the tendency to break. But these rice, after the process of the parboiling, this rice will change its color and at the same time it will be very hard in nature as compared to other normal rice, right? So storage करने के लिए काफी आसान होता है. For this storage, it can be stored easily in the gunny bags, not in the white bags which you see, right? And it has some nutritional values. What nutritional values does this rice has? It has vitamin B. In general, rice will not have these kind of vitamins in it, and the content of protein in rice is very less as compared to wheat. Wheat has somewhere about 8 grams to 12 grams of protein, whereas rice has only 5 to 6 grams of protein. So if you go and look into the food habits of those people who are eating rice, they generally supplement with the curries which are mixed in very thick. But rice which already has protein in it, wheat which already has good content of protein as compared to rice, that can be seen as a productive food. So fortification, food fortification is also important. Fortification means you need to add more nutrients to the rice. This is one such process in which you can also add nutrients to the rice. Now how are you adding nutrients to this rice? You are adding nutrients to this rice through the process of diffusion. ठीक है? Diffusion matlab movement of anything from higher concentration to lower concentrations, that is called your diffusion. So when this rice is subjected to steaming, before it is put into the hot water, the nutrients that are present in the water do enter into the rice. After that, when the hull or husk of this rice is taken off, all the nutrients are present into the rice from the water. What nutrients? The nutrients which you get to see here is vitamin B, vitamin B, calcium, potassium and ferrous. Apart from that, some kind of amino acids you get to see in the parboiled rice, right? Now let's come back to the issue. The state of Telangana has complained that the central government is not procuring the enough amount of rice which we have produced. Whereas it also complained, or it also has complaints that it has procured enough rice from Punjab, it has procured enough rice from Maharashtra. Why is the central government showing discriminatory principles under the Food Security Act, which is not allowed to do so? We'll look into that domain. Before, see here, back in 2019 and 2020, 44.7 lakh metric tons of this parboiled rice has been procured by the Food Corporation of India from Telangana. Now, a year later, only 25.62 lakh metric tons have been produced. Why? And whatever that has been procured. The reason here is 40 से लेकर 20, almost 50% का reduction हुआ ना. 50% has been reduced. If 50% has been reduced, it is because already the central government has informed from the Kharif season, please do not produce any amount of the parboiled rice, because India do have sufficient amount of parboiled rice, and the demand for parboiled rice over a period has come down. So the Food Corporation of India has a mandate to procure and as well as store the rice and wheat that has been produced by various states, right. In this context, there are some other points which you have to understand, that is the total storage capacity of the Food Corporation of India, as well as how much is India needed at this point of time. See, this is the data which I have taken it from the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution Department. In this, it says that the total parboiled rice as of now availability is 40.58 lakh tons. And what is the need? How kitna chahiye India ko? India only needs somewhere around 20 lakh tons. And this is the buffer amount for the next 2 years. ठीक है, we are almost having double the amount that is required as of now, the amount of parboiled rice. Apart from this, if you look into the chart here, Telangana alone is accounting for 16.52. Rest of the states are only producing minimal amount. So Food Corporation of India complains that there is enough and we are not in a position to procure, and it has been already said under the true principles, that is decentralized procurement and as well as centralized procurement. This we'll learn in the next 5 to 10 odd minutes. There are, whenever the Food Corporation of India comes for the procurement of the wheat and rice, it actually has signed some treaties with every state. The procurement can be done through the centralized mechanisms, it can also be done through the decentralized mechanisms. Centralized mechanism is a place where the Food Corporation of India directly procures. Decentralized mechanism is a place where the state will procure. It will take off all the cost for the procurement, and later it will give it to the center, right. That is the basic difference between the procurement. Now let us come back and ask a question: can all the rice varieties can be subjected to parboiling? The answer is yes. I hope you might have had your biryani some or the other time. The rice that is used in your biryani is called aromatic rice, which is also called as basmati rice. The biggest problem with the parboiled rice is that whenever the rice is subjected to parboiling, it sometimes loses the aroma which it has. So generally all the rice can be subjected to parboiling, but aromatic rice जो होता है ना, जो basmati rice हो या which other rice where it gives good soothing smell, these rice, if it is subjected to parboiling, it will lose its aroma. So that's why mostly it is the aromatic rices are not subjected to parboiling, right. Clear? Now come back to the data here. It is said that only 20 lakh tons is the amount that is required, right. Now there are some advantages of the parboiling as well as disadvantages of the parboiling. We'll look into the advantages first. Firstly, the advantages of the parboiling is that it reduces the chance of fungi, or it also reduces the chance of infection to the rice. That is the first component which you have to understand, right. And it increases the nutritional value, as I've already told you, vitamin B, calcium, potassium as well as ferrous, iron is added into this rice. So food fortification is also done, right. Now the parboiled rice has a high resistant insect and fungi properties होता है. Along with that, it reduces the chance of kernel breaking. ये भी एक advantage है. Along with these advantages, there are some disadvantages as well. What are these disadvantages? Look here, if you prolongedly soak something, rice becomes darker and may smell, which is not good. That is the reason why at times when the food is gone into the midday meal scheme, it is sometimes this rice that is being sent, because it has these minerals, right, nutritional values hai. So sometimes you here and there you get to hear some news articles, right. Now there is a question here. Neha Saini asks, sir, in Food Security Act only rice is procured by government? No, it is not only rice, wheat and coarse grains for the minimum support price of 22 plus crops is being produced by a Food Corporation of India. I'll come to that point in the next 5 odd minutes, please bear with me. Now setting up a parboiling plant is more costly as compared to the plant of a general rice mill. A rice mill generally mills the rice that comes in, but setting up this particular plant needs more investment, so not all farmers can bear the cost. These are some of the advantages and disadvantages. Now there is an integrative article which has been in news with respect to the parboiling as well as the wheat. So food corporation is something which is common to the wheat procurement, which is also common to the rice procurement, right? We will try to understand the role of food security, the role of Food Security Act and the role of Food Corporation of India along with the rice and wheat, right? Now this is an article which talks about how the government procures wheat, why and for whom and at what price. So is it central government or the state government which procures? If you know, please answer in the comment section. If you know the answer, please answer in the comment section. Is it the central government or the state government which procures the food grains and distributes it to the public? I have an answer here. Neha Saini says central government. See, look here, it is actually the Food Corporation of India, which is a central government body. It is a statutory body established under the Food Security Act to give some certain rights. It has the rights to procure, and at the same time it has also the rights to store the procured grains, right? Along with the state government agencies, कुछ ऐसे agencies है state government का भी है, ये दोनों agencies मिल बांट कर अपना responsibility share करके they procure rice and wheat and other coarse grains. At what price? I have told you, at MSP, that is minimum support price. Now does the minimum support price has some legality? No. It is an other body, a committee that sits and decides this is the amount of the minimum support price which need to be there, so that this Food Corporation of India will give you the amount of money. But it is not actually the Food Corporation of India which procures. At times the Food Corporation of India, which is an agent of center, there are some state government agencies in the name of APMC Mandis, or between these two there is another person or called agent. This agent will also tie up with the Food Corporation of India, and the same agent will also tie up with the state government agencies, and this agent, which is also a third party agent, who will procure from the farmers, because these farmers, these bodies do not have enough sufficient staff with them, right? Now it can be done through centralized process, which is also called as non-DCP process, and it can also be done through decentralized process, right? It is done through centralized process and it is also done through decentralized process. Now I will try to explain you what actually is a centralized process and what actually is a decentralized process of procurement, and why today wheat prices are so high as compared to the last year, and why India is also exporting its wheat to the Egypt, right? And what is the role of the WTO here, right? Firstly, a centralized payment system or a procurement system is one such central pool होगा, एक ऐसा central pool होंगे, and this is undertaken by the Food Corporation of India directly or by the state government agencies, right? I'll try to explain you this in detail. Firstly, Food Corporation of India एक ऐसी body है, it will assign some roles and responsibilities to the state government. State government may, it will employ few people and say that now you go to different cities and procure the rice that is required, right? Now states like Telangana, there are certain states like Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, West Bengal, Bihar, Punjab and Maharashtra, where wheat is grown extensively. These are the states where decentralized procurement takes place, right? Let me try to explain you. Suppose if this is your Food Corporation of India, it does through centralized as well as decentralized procurement. In the centralized procurement, what it does is, along with the FCI plus state government, they directly go and procure from the farm, or they ask small farmers to come to the mandi, and whoever brings their product, it will be put in the mandi and it will put, they give MSP to the farmers and they procure, This is one methodology. Directly it is stored in the state government ka a places or godowns. It is stored or in the Food Corporation of India godowns. This is one method of procurement. And the second method of procurement is that here स्टेट गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज जो है प्लस फूड कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया दोनों साथ ही प्रोक्योर करेंगे, बट लेकिन वंस आफ्टर देयर प्रोक्योरमेंट व्हाट दे डू इज देयर आर प्रोग्राम्स, राइट, पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम है, along with that पोषण अभियान है, and for these programs the central government has to give certain food to the state government to run the procurement, right? So what they do is whatever that is procured, they store it, and here the amount of cost that is incurred by the state government jo hai na, that will be paid by the FCI to the state government, right? That is first thing. Apart from that, if it is procuring maybe 1 lakh tons of food grains, if it is if the state government or the state government is procuring 1 lakh tons of food grains, imagine this is your state of Telangana and it is procuring 1 lakh tons of the wheat or food grains. Out of this 1 lakh, Telangana state government might require 40 lakh tons for its government led programs, right? Under the public distribution system ke andar, state government like Telangana needs 40 lakh tons out of the 1 lakh tons. What it does is it will keep 40 lakh tons with it, and the rest 60 lakh jo hai na, it will transfer to the central government. How? For the procurement it will give back to the FCI, and for that this will be given certain amount of funds. This is called the decentralized procurement. Centralized procurement is a place where both the state government and the central government milke they procure, and then later the food is directly kept with the Food Corporation of India. After that, Food Corporation of India will give to the Ministry of Consumer Affairs. Ministry of Consumer Affairs will now start to distribute food through the PDS system, right? This is the difference between a centralized procurement and the decentralized procurement, right? Food Corporation of India is a central government agent. State government agents are some mandis or some authorities which have been assigned to that state, right? This is the basic difference between the central procurement and the state procurement, which is centralized and decentralized. The problem with the parboiled rice is that Telangana is a decentralized procurement principle under which the Food Security of India, under which the Food Corporation of India has had a tie-up with the state of Telangana. Now Telangana state government has completely procured whatever the food, whatever the parboiled rice that is there, the state government has procured. Now the state is waiting for the center to take away all of this parboiled rice and pay to the state. If the center does not do, it is the weight of the complete cost will now fall onto the exchequer of the state government, right? Which the state cannot handle that burden, right? Now let's come back to the wheat here. Wheat का procurement policy देखो, इसमें एक central pool create किया जाएगा. The central pool is nothing but whatever that has been procured, that everything will be bought to the central government, Food Corporation of India godowns, and each godown se they'll keep and store. For there are some norms, there are some rules, how much to be stored, how much to be distributed, that is through the Food Security Act. So today we have somewhere around 5 to 7 years of procured wheat and rice wherein the government of India can feed it to the public. So because of the Ukraine crisis, in Ukraine there is intense crisis that is going on. ये Ukraine crisis के कारण wheat का production कम हो गया and wheat is no longer exported to different countries. Now India has surplus, so that's the reason why India went in for transporting it to Egypt, or else is exporting it to Egypt. So can India do that? Yes, India actually can do it, because today the MSP, the minimum support price jo hai, it is less than the market price. Usually it will not happen. If that is the case, if market price is more, all the farmers will go and directly sell it to the market. Why would they go and sell it to the government under the FCI, right? So it is now the time for it is the duty of the government to go and export this wheat to other countries, as well as bring in, buy the excess amount of wheat that is there in the market at the market price and get and store back. This is a recommendation that has been recommended by one of the committee which has been sat recently. Apart from that, in the month of March, what happened is that there has been excessive heat that you got to see, because of which there is a rise in temperatures of 1 to 2 degrees Celsius as average temperature of in the month of March, because of which the wheat generally needs less temperature at the time of the harvest. So अगर 1 degree temperature अगर बढ़ गया, 1 degree Celsius, if there is an increase, 4 to 5 million tons of your wheat production will be reduced. This is given by this Swaminathan committee, right? Swaminathan committee said that if there is an increase of 1 degree Celsius temperature, there would be a drop in 4 to 5 lakh tons of your wheat production, and this is what it has happened in the last month, that is in the month of March. So there are also critics that why are we exporting our wheat to foreign countries? If there is a situation of this kind, can India handle it? Because India has 130 crores of population. So this is some kind of criticism. I hope you have got some clarity with respect to the procurement of your wheat and FCI as well as Food Security Act. This is what you have to know at this point of time. And with respect to the how much buffer stock you need to have, that is India does need to maintain, India do need to maintain this buffer stock, that is around, India has to maintain 74.60 lakh tons, but today we have 2.5 times more than the buffer. Whatever I am talking here is just the buffer that is needed. This is the buffer stock. We already have sufficient amount for the Food Security Act. Food Security Act ki over the Food Security Act we have a buffer of 74.6 lakh tons. Along with that, currently we have 2.5 times more than what is required for the buffer. That means all this rice, all this wheat is simply sitting in the godowns of the Food Corporation of India. Rather than it is getting spoiled, it is being asked to ship it to various countries. Because this is the time where the globalization impact, or the with respect to international relations, it is the friendly activity which India can do, and India can actually help in the global food security as well, and India can play major roles, right? So what is the buffer stock? Buffer stock is nothing but जितना हमें sufficient है उससे ज़्यादा कुछ रखना चाहिए, right? That is called buffer stock. For example, there is 130 crore population in India. So for this 130 crore population, the Food Security Act said that it should maintain the amount of food, even if you are not growing crops आज के दिन में, in layman terms, even if you are not growing a single crop in today's time, the government of India should be in a position to give food to the people for at least 4 to 5 years. That is what in layman terms I can explain you. Apart from this, you have to remember something. Back in 1970s, we went with the begging bowl to the US asking for the food security to India. India was very low at its time because of the lack of food. People were experiencing hunger, famine. So at that point of time, US used to only give the leftover food that is left in the godowns of the US, वो हमें transport किया जाता था. But with the advancement of the Green Revolution, we are now able to attain the food security to India. Now there has been a question to repeat the decentralized procurement once more. Yes, I'll be doing it for one last time here. See, decentralized procurement is nothing but state government plus the Food Corporation of India, they together will procure the wheat or rice or coarse grains, right? Now the state government also needs, imagine this is the 100 lakh tons procure kiya, right? But the state government needs 40 lakh tons for its PDS system, right? What it does is, out of the 100 lakh tons it has produced, it will keep 40 lakh tons with the state government and it will give back 60 lakh tons to the Food Corporation of India, and this Food Corporation of India will keep this food in the central pool, right? That central pool is nothing but हर state से जो भी procure करेगा एक pool होता है, every place the Food Corporation of India has its godowns, it keeps on the reserves. Now state government procure करने के लिए भी कुछ पैसा लगेगा, right? There would be some costs because gunny bags, transportation, petrol, every cost will be will be borne by state government, for which the Food Corporation of India will pay back the MSP price plus the transportation price as well as the expenses that are incurred by the state government in procuring the rice. Because the state government is the one which is providing land, which is also providing the markets, it is also providing the infrastructure that is required, for which the Food Corporation of India will pay back the money that is required for the state government, right? This is something at this point of time you have to know with respect to wheat, and today we are in such a position to export the wheat as well, and I think I have added some value to your preparation. If you do also think so, please press that like button and subscribe to the channel. Whenever we come to bring up the valuable content to you, it will be you will be notified. And once more, in the end, I would be repeating that we at Raj Malhotra are coming up with the All India Free Prelims Test Series, wherein we will be conducting a simulation test same as UPSC conducts. You can also come to our institute and write. It is in the offline mode as well as online mode, which is from 9:30 to 11:30, that is general studies, and from 2:30 to 4:30 it is your CSAT. Remember guys, it is highly important for you to self-evaluate, at least even if you are into 3 months of your preparation, 6 months of your preparation, or even if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, any amount, it is important for you to self-evaluate. Alone studying will not let you know where exactly you stand. It is important for you to self-evaluate. That self-evaluation is always done through at a greater level competition, right? Please make the best utilization of this test. The link will be provided in the description for this test series, or else you can also join us our Telegram channel for the PDF of this particular lecture. You will get it on our Telegram channel. If you have watched me till here, please press that like button and subscribe to us. Thank you and take care.